impact of what you're testing.
So, in a sense, when you talk to us about democracy, truth, and social media, you are giving us a warning from our future. What's happened to your country is about to happen one day to many other countries, including this one, in your view.
If it hasn't already, I believe it already has. And certainly in terms of the United States, Silicon Valley since came home to roost on January 6, 2021. I actually say in the book that the political dominoes, so the information operations began in 2014. This is when news organizations were brought onto Facebook by instant articles, right? And yet the algorithms of amplification weren't changed. And as by 2018, you actually have MIT research that shows lies spread faster than facts, at least 6 times faster.
Lies spread faster because they're more emotionally engaging, they play to our prejudices, and therefore we scroll through them and we think, yes, I agree with that.
Correct.
And then you get the next one and the next one. So we both assume, I guess, that in the world there are things called facts. You accumulate as many facts and then you make a judgment, and on all those judgments, eventually you elect people and democracy happens. But you're saying that is a naive and outdated view of how humans are currently behaving.
Given how our information ecosystem has been corrupted, the world is turned upside down. Lies are rewarded, right? So imagine even in your family, if you teach your kids, if you lie, I'm going to give you a reward for it. That's what the world has been through. And I've said this numerous times now,
So you say it's been, sorry, Maria, you say it's been corrupted. Who's corrupted it?
Social media. The tech companies themselves. It's a business model called surveillance capitalism. We didn't even have the name for it until Shoshana Zuboff wrote her book in 2019 called Surveillance Capitalism. It is creating a new market for human behavior, for prediction of human behavior. The last time human beings were commodified was when it was our labor, the 18th and 19th century, when factories created sweatshops and you had child labor and countries.
We had 150 years of politics, as it were, as a result of that. But now we're in a new position. Let me ask you about Donald Trump, because people will have heard about the Marcos episode and understand a little bit perhaps of what's happened. But for most people, the rise of Donald Trump is a much more vivid and immediate example of that. Was he using social media in the same way as Ferdinand Marcos II?
Yeah, absolutely. Information operations, information warfare, and this was something that you can look at in the Mueller report, 1,000 pages with data that was released, right? Americans were targeted by Russian information operations. Look, propaganda has been around forever, but you have never been able to actually micro-target at the cellular level of democracy, which is what human beings are, right? So if we don't have facts, then we can't have truth. We can't have trust. How do we have integrity of elections if we don't have integrity of facts?
You mentioned in your book, of course, Donald Trump. You also mentioned Brexit. Do you think that's a crucial part of the story?
Yes, the political dominoes began to fall in 2016. The Philippines, the election of Rodrigo Duterte was one of those. The less than a month or so, about a month or so later, was Brexit. Then you had the succeeding elections that by November it was the election of Donald Trump. Then the Catalonia elections had bots.
So just explain to people for whom this is a relatively new idea, what connects the election or the success of would-be dictators and strongmen in other parts of the world and the Brexit vote in Britain?
So think about it like this at a fundamental level. Everything you put on social media is pulled together. Replace the word model with clone. So each of us are cloned, and then all those clones are pulled together by artificial intelligence, and that becomes the motherlode database for micro-targeting, meaning your most vulnerable point to a message, you are fed a message that someone pays to give you. Or if you are the target of information operations, which I have been, Facebook took down information operations from China that were targeting me, sanitizing the Marcos reputation, and creating fake accounts for the U.S. elections in the November 2020 elections. These things all happen. It is insidious manipulations of our minds, of our worldview, how we vote through our emotions by inciting fear anger, and hate.
The really big figures of this new world, the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Elon Musks, for instance, would say, we're the good guys, though. We're the guys who believe in free speech. We're offering you all the chance for a platform in which you can have genuinely free speech and tell each other what you think. What's your answer to them?
That's a lie, and the evidence proves it. Free speech is used to stifle free speech precisely because of lack of data privacy, of antitrust regulations, of how we are insidiously manipulated, and because the interests of the autocrats and the tech platforms align. They make more money at this.
I don't know about you, but for all this, I mean, I find the Twitter feed on my phone addictive. I mean, I keep coming back to it again and again. So if you're advising somebody listening to this conversation and saying, I am worried about being manipulated by these great big companies and having my political views distorted and being fed lies, how should I behave as a good citizen now?
I think the solution to this is there's long, short term, medium term, right? In the long term, it is education. We need to understand how algorithms, how data, how technology works. Algorithm is just opinion in code, right? Sometimes it's the wrong opinion and then it's replicated a million times.
That's a really useful thing to remember. When I say algorithm, coded opinion.
Correct. And then the medium term is legislation. Where are the democratic governments? Why is there not a better business bureau for our hearts and our minds? And then in the short term, it is hand-to-hand combat, right? It's a person-to-person defense of our values and our democracy, of the facts. So the biggest problem that we face now is how do we cement our shared reality so we can actually solve the existential problems we face? I'll give you an example of a difference and how the individual connects to geopolitical power. TikTok. Not an American company, right? But there are two versions of TikTok. The China version, the code that is used in China, which is child-friendly. Like if you're 14 years and below, they give you educational videos, and they make sure that children below 14 spend less time. They cut them out at a certain point in time. My friend Tristan Harris calls this the spinach version of TikTok. And then what they did is, to the rest of the world, they exported the opioid version of TikTok. You talked about mildly addictive. Dopamine is mildly addictive, but more than that, it is.
And this is, I'm going to put this in really simple terms, but this is because if you get excited or moved by videos of cats, nuzzling cats, you get thousands of them, one after another after another. And then you're quite interested in a picture of a dog, and so you get dogs and so forth. And it just draws you in because your mind is enjoying what you're watching, and it's more and more.
Those were the milder days. Today, it is part of what has taken fringe conspiracy theories and brought them to the center. It is part of what has taken Brazilians, a far-right figure like Jair Bolsonaro, and brought him to the center and helped him get elected.
It starts with pussycats and it ends with lizard brains who control the world through a Jewish conspiracy or whatever it might be.
Pizzagate. I mean, that's. Yeah. But the other part is that it also kills the best of humanity, right? Because if the driver is fear, anger, us against them,